coming out. I hope everybody's enjoying their summer. For those of you that have seen me before, this lecture is going to be a whole lot different. This lecture is really about women. Now, there are men in the audience, and I think you're going to agree, you're probably like me. You like women. My mom was a woman, my wife's a woman, and I have 2 daughters at home and a female dog. So this lecture, if you are a woman, will be helpful for you, and if you know of a woman or love a woman, it can be helpful for them also. However, for the men in the audience, there are also tidbits in here for you also. I did not neglect you. So I really want to welcome you. And again, I always like to start my lectures out by thanking this great organization, TUNYs. We are very blessed to have them here in our town. This center to give lectures, their store, the pricing that they have, the products that they have, the knowledge that they have. We're really fortunate to have them. And if you're new to TUNYs, make sure to utilize their services because they really are phenomenal. So, as women can well attest to, they live on a roller coaster throughout much of their life. Women have needs that go so far beyond what a man's needs are. And if you think about what a woman has to do during her life, I mean, it's huge. I would never want to be a woman. I'm so glad that I have my wife. It's tough. And women have a very, very difficult circumstance throughout their entire life. This lecture is very different. Okay? This lecture is designed to really teach you why women are the way they are and what we can do to help and support the women in our lives. So I hope you enjoy it. This process was produced and researched by me. What happens is I see patients all the time, and I'm really, really, really sincerely looking to help people because people are suffering, and they really don't have to suffer. So what I've done is I've engaged an independent research company that helped me to produce this, to give you the information. What we're going to talk about are my credentials. We're going to talk about common stressors of women. We're going to talk about what stress really is. It's not being stuck on I-95. And every time that we have stress, we have to deal with that. And we're going to talk about how the body deals with stress. We're going to talk about what nutrition is. Nutrition is not eating 3 squares a day. Nutrition is not eating or popping a handful of supplements. Nutrition is totally different. We're going to talk about the science of nutrition. We're going to talk about what enzymes are, women's nutrition from the womb to the tomb, facts about protein, little tidbits that you probably aren't even aware of. We're going to talk about prevention. We're going to talk about how health is handled in this country. We'll talk about some success stories and how finally you can get some help yourself. So my name is Dr. Paul Inselman. I've been in practice for 25 years. My degree is that of a doctor of chiropractic, and I have advanced studies in functional digestive medicine, nutritional testing, and enzyme nutrition. I am considered by my peers to be an expert in functional digestive nutritional testing and enzyme nutrition. I teach those subjects nationally to medical doctors, chiropractors, and osteopaths. I have written several articles that have been published, and we just came up with our ebook, Tips on Health, that has just been published. My website is www.drinselman.com. It holds a wealth of information. If you have not been there, I invite you to come and do so. And the fun part of my job is that I get to treat the most difficult of cases. We literally have patients that fly in from all over the country, and they come here to South Florida to enjoy our weather and to get well and healthy. So, some stressors in women. Women, like I said, have a different set of circumstances. Women have family stress. They have to jockey taking the kids to Little League practice and coming home and cooking dinner. And in this day and age, women also work. So they have to jockey being a full-time mom, mother, wife, and employee or employer. They get to run the house. They get to deal with their kids. They have money stresses. They have relationship stressors, school stressors, and then what happens is, as things start to happen and they get older and they start to get symptoms like headaches and hot flashes and memory loss, what happens is that starts to ding their self-esteem. And now they start to worry, what's going on here. And now that leads into a whole host of other things that we're going to term the roller coaster ride. So what we need to look at first off is, what is stress? Hans Selye was a Nobel Prize laureate, and in 1964 he won the Nobel Prize for his model of stress. And what he said is that every time there is a stress, the body sets up an alarm mechanism. And then what's going to happen is the body's going to try and resist that stress. And if it can't resist that stress, it's going to become exhausted. And if it still can't resist that stress, the body's going to go into a disease state, it's going to degenerate, and it's ultimately going to die. So you can term whatever you want for stress. You can plug in any one of those things for stress. You can put in Hulk Hogan, the big wrestler, remember him? So I want to give you an example of how this works. Hulk Hogan crashes through that door and wants to kill me. I have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be a major stress to me. My body is going to set up an alarm. It's going to give me two choices. I can flight, I can run away, or I can fight him. I'm a pretty smart guy, so I decide to run. But he grabs me before I can get away and he puts me in a chokehold. What am I going to do? I am going to resist him. Well, have you seen Hulk Hogan? Do you see me? I don't think I'm too much of a match. So as I'm resisting him, I'm going to become exhausted. And as I become exhausted, eventually what's going to happen is I'm going to start to break down, and eventually I'm going to die. It doesn't matter if it's Hulk Hogan or if it's any one of those stressors that is causing the stress. The body handles it in a very, very predictable way every single time. So, as women know, men are the cause of all stress. There are only three types of stressors in this world: mechanical, the effect of gravity; emotional, the effect of worry; and nutritional, the effect of our environment and our diet. And so we have mechanical, emotional, and nutritional men. Let me see a show of hands, women. Am I telling you the truth? Aren't men the cause of stress?
My wife says.
Yeah, absolutely. My wife says the same thing. So if we look at those stressors, again, that a woman carries all the way through her life, let's see how it works physiologically. How does the body deal with stress? And stress is called the universal killer. All stress, Hans Selle found out, has to be handled in a very, very predictable way every single time. Let me ask you a question. If you cut your hand, how do you heal? Is it the Neosporin? Is it the Band-Aid? What makes that hand heal? What makes it knit and tuck? Everything is done from nutrition. So the way stress is handled is you've got to fill up this bucket of nutrition. When we are born, we have this bucket, and our job is to fill that bucket. As we need that nutrition, if we cut ourselves, we make withdrawals out of that bucket. And the problem as we get older is if we did not shore up that bucket where it's full of nutrients, we're not going to have a good reserve. And then if we undergo stress, which we undergo every day, what happens is that bucket, if it's empty or depleted, can't fulfill what we need, and we're going to end up getting sick. So what I want you to keep in the forefront right now, I want you to think about when a child is born and they have that bucket that's empty, and we need to start to fill it. So let's take a look. First of all, what is nutrition? You know, nutrition is the science of food. It's how we ingest the proper things. It's how we digest it, break it down, utilize it, absorb it, and then eventually get rid of the waste. That is the definition of nutrition. Nowhere in there does it say take a handful of supplements as nutrition. Nowhere in there does it say eat 3 squares a day. Nutrition is getting the right diet to you, absorbing it, utilizing it, getting rid of the waste. Food. Food is made up of fiber, carbohydrates, protein, fat, and the little unknown things called vitamins and enzymes. Now, enzymes are essential in order to get proper digestion. We'll talk about that as we go further. But suffice it to say that we need energy for energy. We need food for energy, for growth, repair, healing, and all of the activities of the organism. How many people think they eat well? Good. And I agree. We try. We try really hard. But according to the article, they found that people think that they eat healthy, but they really don't. And even if you do eat healthy, I want to applaud you. But we have a problem. We have a real challenge with our food supply. As a matter of fact, our food supply, the nutritional content, is declining. Back in 1951, it took only 2 peaches to give a woman the normal amount, the acceptable amount of vitamin A. Today, it takes 53. So even if you're eating the best diet in the world, our food is not nutritionally rich. It's not nutritionally dense. Back in 1948, 1 serving of spinach gave us all the iron we needed. Today, it takes 60. So again, you can be eating the greatest diet in the world, but unbeknownst to us and not our fault, our food content is not nutritionally rich. So now we need to talk about enzymes. You know, enzymes are responsible for life. They are large classes of proteins that are designed to be catalysts to start reactions. And they are essential to life because without enzymes, there is no life. And what about food enzymes? Food enzymes are essential nutrients. What essential means is you either get them by hook or by crook. If you don't get them, you end up with chronic degenerative disease processes. Now, food enzymes live in raw food. Raw fruits, raw vegetables, raw meat, raw everything. And the way it's supposed to happen is we are supposed to eat raw food. We bite and we chew and we mix the surface area of that food with the enzymes to get pre-digestion of our diet, pre-digestion. We now swallow. 30 to 45 minutes after our first swallow, our body releases its own digestive enzymes to finish the job of digestion. The nutrients are taken up and the waste products are removed, and that is normal. The problem is we have systematically removed these essential nutrients from our diet because of progress. When we were a farming nation, we would pick the food, eat it, it was raw, everything was great, but when we became an industrial nation, they had to figure out a way of getting the food from the farm to the inner city, and thus the canning industry was born. So they took the food, they put it in the can, and now what happened was they shipped it. 3 days later, the can exploded. The can exploded because the enzymes that are normally in the food started to digest the food. It releases gases, boom. Well, corporate America can't live on a shelf life of 3 days. So what they started to do is they started to remove the enzymes by using high heat techniques and salicylic acid, which we know as aspirin.